Yeah, the Christian music guys. Make some noise for the Christian music guys.
Well, today on the show, we are joined by one of the most influential artists in Christian music, Chris Tomlin, with over 8 billion global streams, a Grammy, 30 Dove Awards, and countless worship anthems sung in churches around the globe. Chris is back with his 18th studio album, The King is Still the King, which is available now. He has had an incredible year with his songs being in major movies, launching the first ever Worship Under the Stars concert series with spots like Central Park and Red Rocks. And then plus the Good Friday event returning for the 10th year in Nashville, Tennessee. Welcome to the show, Chris Tomlin.
Hey.
Chris, how are you, man?
Oh, good, man. Great to be with you. Great to be on the show.
Yeah. Let's get started in our conversation. So Winter Jam just announced you as the headliner for 2026. Is this your first time doing Winter Jam?
Yes, first time. I think
that is awesome.
I think that it would be, surprising to most people because I get it's so funny how many times I'm out on the road, I'll meet people and I meet and greet and stuff. Man, I remember seeing you in a Winter Jam, whatever. I'm like, no, I've never done that. I've never been on that tour. And so, yeah, this has been my first time after all these years. So, yeah, I'm excited. It feels like the right time. It feels like the right moment to step into this. I think with what's going on, I feel like this awakening, this revival across the younger generation. I really feel that there's more of a longing for truth, longing to connect to God, a real longing there. And I sense that. I think people sense that. I think the stats say it, from Bible sales to everything, of just going through the roof with the younger generation. And I love that. So what a moment to step in and be able to lead in that moment with what's going on in our country and our nation. I just pray that by the time we get there in January, February, March, when we get to Winter Jam, that that fire is still burning and it's just growing and growing and growing. And so, what an honor to step into this moment, because I love it. It's an audience it's a real Winter Jam's a concentrated audience of youth, mostly youth groups, right? And it's kind of the biggest youth group thing of the year, and that's not an audience that I'll always play to in my tours, and so that's really exciting for me, for just that concentrated audience.
I love Winter Jam too, because you just, like you said, I mean, it's like so many different types of styles of music. And last year Skillet played, and my stepdad, he's not a believer, but he loves Skillet, and he went to the show with my mom and sat the whole time, because he's just not into Christian music. And then Skillet comes on and he stands up and starts rocking, and she's like, she just laughs because he's like into this Jesus music, but he has no idea,
Well,
he's getting preached.
That's amazing. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's quite a different, I saw that from last year, the headliner. Skillet to me is quite a jump.
Yeah. For sure.
It's your wife's dad, is that what you said?
It's my mom's husband, so my stepdad. Yeah.
So he's not coming to see me, I guarantee you that.
My mom loves you, but I don't know about
there
him
you go.
coming.
There you go.
So Matthew West, I don't know if you've ever toured with him, but he's a prankster, so hopefully you'll be able to get through your set without him trying to do anything silly to you.
I welcome anything he thinks he can bring.
So, okay, Time Magazine called you the most sung artist in America, man. That's a pretty big honor. My brothers and I were talking about it, and I guess your songs are, obviously every Sunday, probably some church, if not a bunch of churches, are always singing your music. I mean, what is that like to you, hearing that?
Yeah. Whew. I mean, it's always been, I remember when I did that interview with Tom, it was years ago, and they were writing this article, and then the article came out, and it was it's like, wow, and they were just talking to me about the songs and just how they've touched, so many places around the world. And I think it speaks to just the magnitude of the church, you know, how massive the church
Mm,
is. And,
yeah.
you know, when I think about that all over the earth, you know, there's not a bigger organization than the church. There's not a bigger group of people than the church of, than the true church of Jesus, you know? And I just think what an incredible opportunity to be, what a incredible privilege it is to be a part of it. And I always count it the greatest privilege of my life. So grateful for to be able to write songs that people sing, and that a worship leader or a music minister or whoever would choose on a Sunday morning would choose one of my songs to lead with their people. That's just the most amazing thing to me. And it's the most amazing uh, honor, really, for me. And it's what I'm most grateful for. Of all the things I've gotten to do in life, and as far as music, that's what I'm most grateful for, is how these songs have found their way to the church. Because that's how it
Mm,
started for me, to write songs for church, write songs to sing. I was writing them for my little Bible study when I was in college, and would have never dreamed that they would be this journey all these years later. And so and for me, it's still the same thing. Still have the same mentality and the same heart, is to write songs, even with this new album, which is our 18th album, which
yeah.
is crazy.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a lot, and then I read an article on Willie Nelson today. It said he has 155. So I have a ways a ways to go.
I mean,
Um,
he is like 152
he
though.
is
So, I mean,
150, so it makes sense if you do one a year. But so so yeah, but this is, you know, our 18th album, and it's still the same thing for me, man. Is to
yeah.
write. Hopefully, there's songs on there that find their way to the church that a worship leader can listen to. Go, oh, Jesus saves, or he has done great things, or a song like "Still the King." Those songs, people are like, oh, I can listen to that. And I can lead that at my church, and so that's what it's always been about for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get into the 18th album. The King is Still the King. Tell us about the heart behind the album, and I have some other questions about it as well. So,
Yeah, I love that title at this moment in time. You know, I feel like if I'd have released that album a year, you know, just the timing of when an album comes out is you plan, but you never know what the world will be going on in the world. And for this record to come out right now, especially a month ago, and just in month, it just feels like, wow, what a special time this is in our country. Like I said, I feel like there's this like this spark that's happened, and especially younger generation. So I think an album like that, it's more than just that title. Is so much more than just a title of an album. It's quite a statement of faith. The King is still the King, and
yeah.
I think last year about a release that people like, oh, that's a nice title, but something about it has a little extra punch maybe right now. The King is still the King, and that is the reality that worship always draws us into, that it's supposed to draw us into, and that reminder of that we belong to a greater kingdom that's on this earth, that this king that and that it lifts our eyes to the greater story. And that's what I hope every album I've ever done does, but especially this one, is that it reminds us of the greater story that we're in, reminds us of who we belong to. We belong to Jesus. He is the King of all kings. Our hope is not in governments of this world. Our hope is not in kingdoms. Kingdoms rise, kingdoms fall, governments rise, governments fall. We've known that through history, but we belong to a kingdom that is beyond this world, and that there is a king that is an everlasting king. And so that's the overarching, I think, thread that goes through this album. And, you know, even the cover, you look at the cover of this record, and everything was so intentional in this album. Probably the most intentional album I've ever made, honestly, in the
Mm,
sense of the thread that runs through, and the thread of this look at the cover, and it's a montage of all these of all the landscapes of the earth. There's mountains. It's just like all a mashup of the ocean, the mountains, the highlands, the forests, the deserts, all this. Like and you see this little crown. It's on my hat right here, actually. This crown that's the cover that sits on the cover of this album. And I thought about this, you know, this crown, and we came up with this idea. I thought, what would it? I've never seen the crown of thorns wrapped around the crown of the King of Kings. I like the royal crown, the crown of thorns wrapped around. And I thought, I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but I've never seen it. I thought, let's create that, because that tells the whole story. That there's a song on this album called "Still the King," and it's where the record comes from. The title of the record comes from, and And there's a line in the song that says, "For the blood is still the blood, and the king is still the king." And that's the whole story. That's the crown of thorns wrapped around the crown of King of Kings. And so when you look at the title and you see this little image of this crown over the landscape of the earth, it's kind of saying that he reigns. He reigns over all things. He's the king over all things. Even the last song on the album, "My Father's World," which is one of the great hymns of our faith, I wrote this little refrain to it. And, I've done that over the past years, right? From the Wonderful Cross to the Amazing Grace. And I get a lot of hate mail for that, but that's okay. That's another podcast. But I've always loved this hymn. Every album, almost every album, I try to find a hymn and record it and kind of bring it in a new light. And that's what I did with "This Is My Father's World." And I wrote this little refrain: He reigns forever on the throne. He reigns, this is my Father's world. And so when you look at that, how the album ends, and he reigns, these crowns, this is my Father's world, and you're seeing the montage of the earth and all the landscapes of the earth with this crown above it. It just, all those kind of things are saying the same thing and pointing us to the same thing. On this thread that runs through that the king is still the king.
And you also threw in an old school song, "You Are My King."
Yeah.
I guess it's just a revised. Did you re-record it, or is it just a remastered? Or?
Re-recorded it, and I love the version. I love the recording of it because it's so simple. It's me and Casey and Matt, my acoustic player and drum and piano player. And it's just acoustics and piano, really, and just a simple. I just wanted to go back to that. I feel like this album, in a lot of ways, and a lot of the sounds has gone back to the early days for me. It's been 30 years, which is crazy. 30 years of making music and touring and making records. And it's going so that "You Are My King" really takes me back to those early days of leading worship. When I was in my Forerunner with a guitar, no band, nothing, just traveling all over Texas, and any church that would have me, I'd come and play these songs, and I would always play this song, "You Are My King." And so when it came to this record, "The King is Still the King," that song just felt like the perfect fit. From the past to put it on this album.
And I remember back in the day when when I was introduced to you, I think back in 2000, when you did this Passion One Day album.
Yes.
And I think you sang the song "The Noise We Make." And I'm like, who's this dude?
That's a good question to ask, for sure.
Came a long way.
Who is this dude? Noise We Make.
Yeah.
I think "You're My King" was on that album too. The Passion one. It was on one of the One Day albums.
It's crazy to believe it's 25 years ago.
25 years ago. Yes.
Well, when that album came out, so.
Yeah, 25 years ago. Yeah, and we had been doing Passion 3 years before that, and started in 97, and just wow. Yeah, what a journey! What a journey! And Passion is one of the big markers of my life. It's a 20-year span for me. 20 years of pouring into that with songs and leading and traveling the world, and this whole movement that is happening and still is happening, which is so beautiful among college campuses and college students.
Yeah. Now talk about the emojis that you have as some of the song titles in there. What was the creative behind that? Was that your idea? Or was that one of your younger people were like, let's do emojis?
Right. So it came from these, again, this very intentional album, right? This thread that runs through, and I thought I'd love to have some musical pieces on this album that are just some nice musical pieces, threads that connect songs. So if you're listening from the start, if you just hit play and let it replay, it's these connecting pieces that throughout the album. And so I was wondering and there's 4 of them on there. We recorded a bunch of them, but I put 4 of them on there, and they're all different. And I thought, what do I call this? I was trying to think, what do I call those little pieces of music, those little pieces of worship? And I thought, well, the obvious thing would be Selah, right? That's in the Psalms, and which is pause, and you see a lot of that. Selah 1, Selah 2, Selah 3. That's what I thought. And then I thought, no. And I thought, well, maybe it's Zamar, Zamar, which is the Hebrew word of praise for instrumental praise. And so I thought, okay, maybe Zamar. But I'm like, I'm gonna have to explain that so much. And so like, what is that? And I'm not sure about that. And then I thought, well, let's just put something on there that I'm really gonna have to explain, right? Emojis. But and it started with the idea of the crown. This crown. I was like, I'd love to title it. What if I just had this crown that goes throughout the whole album? These crowns. And my team was like, okay, that's kind of cool. But then, you came back thinking, okay, you can't title it just a crown, because if you play, you don't know it doesn't know which crown to play. If I have just crowns throughout the whole thing, so I had to put a crown and something else, crown something else, crown something else, and so it became all, you can imagine, for my team, a nightmare. They were just like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, and for, like, how are people going to tell Alexa to play crown person on their knees?
Or radio people want to start playing it, I don't.
Yeah. What is it? And so this is a new album, new release from Chris. It's called Crown with a Bird. Let's play this. And
well, thank God he didn't do like a poop emoji. I mean, that would have been interesting.
exactly. Totally. My kids would have loved that. But yeah, so that's where it goes. That's where that's how it happened, and it's really started with that crown idea, putting this kind of this, keeping that whole thread, that theme of the king is still the king.
Yeah. Now, okay, so when I listened to the album, one of the songs that I really enjoyed, and I was like, man, this is a little different than a Chris Tomlin song. You got Our God and How Great Is Our God and all these songs, and then Help My Unbelief. And I was like, wow, what an amazing song. And a lot of people struggle with this, Chris. Do you mind talking about that one?
It's probably the most different song I've ever recorded. Most different song that I've ever played. It's definitely the surprise title for me.
Yeah.
I think anybody who knows my music, they'd be like, they see this Help My Unbelief, people be thinking, what's happened to Chris, probably. And it's not that at all. I think there's a lot of hope in this song. I really do. And it comes from the Mark 9, in the Gospels of Mark, chapter 9. It's this amazing story. This amazing, amazing story. And we read it probably over it, because I know if you're like me, you kind of read the scriptures, and you've read them a lot, and it just kind of goes by. But just think with me for a minute. Just go with me for a minute. There's this dad whose child is in great need of healing, and Jesus is coming to his town. This is Mark 9. Jesus comes to his town, and so he wants to get his son in front of Jesus, just like any of us would. You have a child who needs healing, and you find out Jesus is coming, you'd be like, whatever it takes. And he gets his son in front of Jesus, and he says, Jesus, have mercy on us. And if you can, would you heal my child? And Jesus' response is, what do you mean, if I can? All things are possible for those who believe. Which, all things are possible for those who believe is kind of the bumper sticker, right? We put on our car. It's the song you think we would write out of that scripture. But it's what the dad says next that's so powerful. He said, the dad looks at Jesus and says, I do believe, but help my unbelief. And I think, who doesn't feel that? Like you said, who isn't in that kind of place in life? If you're not, I say you haven't lived long enough, because you're going to find yourself in those places of just that struggle. And I love, even in the struggle, the dad saying, I believe you, but I'm struggling. Right? Yeah. I believe, but I'm struggling, and I need faith. And I love that Jesus did not look at him and say, well, you do not 100% believe, so I am moving on to the next.
That's right.
Aren't you glad? He's like, he healed that child. And I think I love that honesty, and I love that's right there in the scripture. And so it's that honest plea of, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. So took that idea and wrote this song around it. And we wrapped this song and I love this song. I think it's going to help a lot of people when they hear it. I think it's so relatable. I think people are like, I can relate to that. I feel that that's right where I am. And I've already gotten so much feedback from this song of people saying that. And so I appreciate you pointing it out, because I want people to really hear this song, and connect with this song. And, we wrap this song with It Is Well. There's the song wraps with It Is Well, and which is intentional again, because that's one probably my favorite hymn. I would say it's in the top 3 at least of my favorite hymns ever written. It Is Well of my soul. And that song was written from if you know the history of that song, it was written from a deep place of, I believe it helped my unbelief. And how much has that song helped generations after generations of people put words in their mouth in the times of deep, deep sorrow and deep struggle. And so that's why the song wraps with "It is well, it is well, it is well with my soul." So yeah, I love that you pointed it out, and it's very different for me. But it's a song of, it's not a song of despair; it's a song of hope. And I love that the scripture says as well that when we are weak, He is at His strongest. His strength is perfect when we are weak. That's how the scripture says it. His strength is perfect when we are weak. We're at our weakest point. And that is kind of what this song is saying, that God's strength is right there. Even in our weakness, He is strong.
Yeah, my wife and I used to serve at a church years ago. And unfortunately, the pastor, he was telling the leadership, he said, you don't need to fake it till you make it. If people come in and need you, you need to just, whatever you're going through, you need to fake it and act like everything's okay. I'm like, dude, but we're human. How are we supposed to just, I don't know. And so we need more songs like that. Yes, I believe, God, that you're going to do it, but help me during this unbelief and during this season, because we're human, man. We're gonna have those moments. We're not perfect. The only perfect guy there was, they crucified him. So
right. So, exactly.
Yeah. Are you allowed to have a favorite on your album?
I don't know. I never can have a favorite. Never do. I mean, it always fluctuates. For me, it's always probably something people didn't see coming. It's probably not
One of
the hit song.
Emoji songs.
It's not. Yeah. Actually, the emoji with the person bowing is probably my favorite piece of music we've ever put out. And it came from a piano player just playing backstage. He always plays stuff backstage. We're in the green room or whatever. We have a little piano out. And he's always playing something unbelievable. One day I walked in, it's like, what is that? He's like, I don't know. And I grabbed my phone and put it on the piano and just hit record my voice memo. And that's what you hear on the emoji there. It's so special. When people have commented, they comment on that one and they're like, I need an hour of that. And I'm like, yeah, we should do that. But probably my favorite song right now is the last song, My Father's World, that I mentioned earlier in our interview. And it has an intro of an emoji with a bird. And the intro is, I love the intro of this song. It's about 2 minutes of just, I thought, it's obviously one of the great hymns of our faith. This is My Father's World, this song is incredible. I learned about the writing of this song. It was from a Presbyterian minister up in New England in the 1800s. And it says he would go out and take walks. He would go out and take hikes out in nature, and he would tell his wife when he would leave every day. He'd go out for a walk and he'd say, honey, I'm going to see my Father's world. That's how he would go out for a hike. I'm like, what a beautiful perspective of life. And for me, I just go for a walk, right? Most of it just go for a walk. He's like, I'm going to see my Father's world. I'm like, wow. And he wrote all these verses. And after he passed away, his wife found his journal and had 16 verses of this, of what we now have as this hymn. This is My Father's World. And they put it into music. And so when I approached this, me and some friends kind of remade the song. You'll hear it. It's got a little bit different melody and it's got this refrain to it. But I also thought it'd be amazing if we created an intro that was the sounds of My Father's World. And so when you hear this intro, it's the wind, it's rain, it's thunder. It's you can hear a wave rolling in. It's birds. It's all the sounds of our Father's world that He has created, and that leads you right into the opening line. This is my Father's world. Into my listening ear, all nature sings, and round me rings the music of the spheres. And so, that when you say my favorite, I always go to that. I just love listening to that because I love that song.
Yeah. Well, Chris, this is a fan-based podcast, and so we have people all the time writing in questions to their favorite artist, and we had a fan of yours, Lisa from Indiana, wants to know the story behind your song, Whom Shall I Fear?
Well, I think, I could tell you the story, and it's a good story, but there's even a better one. about that song. That's been one of the special songs of my life. And I went to a conference recently. Not recently. I probably maybe 5 years ago. And I went to this conference and it was for Bible translation. I was supposed to come and play music for it. I was coming to lead worship for it. And it was like those 2 or 3 day conferences, and I was coming on at the end. And so I came in the middle of the conference, middle time, and I'm walking in the lobby of the hotel where it's being held. And a friend of mine's there with this gentleman. And he says, "Chris, I'm so glad you walked in right now. I want to introduce you to this guy. He just spoke at the conference and he's leaving. He's about to go catch his flight back home. But his story is unbelievable." And he's introduces me to this man, and he speaks in broken English, not from here. I instantly figured that out, not from America. And he says, "Hi, and he gives me his name. He said, "I'm a pastor from Syria." And I mean, that's all you need to know, really, right? I'm a pastor from Syria. And he begins to tell me his story. And his friend says, "Why don't you tell Chris' story?" And he starts telling me this unbelievable story of coming to faith, and how Jesus started showing up to him in dreams, and saying, "Follow me." He said every night I'd have a dream. Jesus would say, "Follow me, follow me, follow me." And he said one day I woke up and I said, "I'm going to follow you, Lord." And he said because of that, he said, "I lost my family, I lost my work, I lost my friendships, I lost everything because my family. Obviously, I live in an Islamic village. I live in an Islamic nation. My family's Islamic, and they were like, 'You've embarrassed the family. You can't do this.'" And so much so, I don't know, I won't go into it too detailed, but he was telling me so many miracles that have been going on. His family was going to take his life. We're going to kill him because he wouldn't renounce Jesus, and crazy things happened there. And so every day he just goes out and he's building the church there in Syria in this little village. My friend, as he's talking to this, my friend says, "Hey, have you ever heard of Christian music?" And I was like, I'm a friend. And I was thinking, what a terrible question at this moment with this guy. And he looked at me, looked at him. He said, "No, I've never heard of it." And he goes on and starts talking about more and more stories and more what God has been doing in Syria. And then he pauses about 5 minutes later. He pauses. He goes, "Wait a minute. I do know one song." He goes, I have one song on my phone that I sing every morning." He goes, "Because I don't know if it's kind of my song of faith." He goes, "Because I don't know if it's my last day on this earth or not. I don't know if I'm going to have my life taken for preaching about Jesus where I do." And he looked at me and he said, "The words are, I know who goes before me. I know who stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side." And he's talking to me like I don't know the lyrics of this song, like I've never heard it. And it says this: "The one who reigns forever, he's a friend of mine. God of angel armies is always by my side." And I mean, tears flowing down my face. Because I'm just all the thoughts that are flooded in my mind at this moment. I'm thinking, wow, I travel and I'm on a bus. And people pay tickets. People pay a ticket to come see me sing about Jesus. And it's the same message that this guy's laying his life for down every day. And I'm thinking, it's that humbling moment, right? And I said, and my friend goes, "Do you know who wrote that song?" And he goes, "No." And he goes, "Well, you're talking to him." And he looks at me and he comes, gives me the biggest hug, and he's just shaking me. He goes, "Man, you have no idea. This is my song of faith. This is my lifeline. This is my song of faith." And I'm crying. He's crying. And he backs up. He goes, "Do you want to hear it in Arabic?" And I'm like, "Yes, I'd like to hear this in Arabic." And he pulls out his phone and he shows me he has one song on his phone. He hits play and it's some guy singing "Whom Shall I Fear" in Arabic. And I'll never sing that song again without thinking of him, and just the power of, you write that little song in your room and it makes its way to a pastor in Syria who's building a church every day, who's laying his life down, and it's their song of faith. I mean, just one of the most amazing things that's ever happened to me. And I just think how God put that together, right? He's walking out of the hotel. I'm walking in. He's going back to Syria. I'll never see him again. And at this moment, and God just connects that little moment. I mean, that's just so incredibly special.
Yeah, that is so good. That is so awesome. Have you ever, I don't know if you could, but it'd be cool to do that, like release a version of that in Arabic, you know?
Yeah, I would love to. I don't know. I'd love to maybe get in touch with that guy again, maybe down the road. Maybe sometimes it'll happen. I can hear that version. I have no idea what that is or where that came from. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, Chris, tis the season. Merry Christmas. You have a Christmas tour coming up. Tell us about that. And then you did an album exclusively for iTunes, correct? And then that released on all platforms today.
All platforms today. Yes. Holy
Yeah.
Forever, Christmas. And
Yep.
I believe it's got a Christmas tree emoji by the way. And keeping the emoji thing going. Holy Forever Christmas. Yeah. And so released some new Christmas songs today, some a little remakes of some ones in the past, and then adding Holy Forever. So I added this, rewrote the verses of Holy Forever as a Christmas with like the Christmas language of the birth of Jesus. Because that's the song just feels that way, right? The angels cry holy, and the creation cries your name above all names. And so I thought, oh, it'd be cool to make a little Christmas version of this song. So released that today. I think people really love that. We'll be singing that every now on the tour. Yeah, the tour starts in December. I think December 4. And we've done that for many, many years now, every year for over a decade now of, for almost 2 decades now of Christmas tour. I look forward to it every year of traveling and playing churches or theaters. And I love this music. I love the music of Christmas. I've always loved it. I love bringing these songs, some of the greatest songs ever written. Come All You Faithful, Hark the Herald Angels Sing, Oh Holy Night. Those three right there are three of the greatest songs that have ever been written. There's a reason they've been sung for hundreds of years, and they will continue to be sung because they're so beautifully written. And, and I love bringing those back into a space of worship, because I don't think when they were written, the guy who wrote them was thinking, I'm writing a Christmas carol. There was no such thing. There was no such thing. It was just, these were songs of worship for that time. And I just want to bring them back in. Sometimes we get in Christmas carol mode, right? And we just sing these amazing songs. And it just goes by us. The lyric go by, and they're so incredibly beautiful. And so I love bringing that kind of spirit of worship into these nights of Christmas, and even with these records. And so, yeah, this is I love this time of year. Every year I get to play these songs and bring the Christmas cheer a little bit. It's always a fun night telling stories and just playing these songs, and having to learn all the chords again. I mean, these songs are insane. It's different than my 4-chord worship songs. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
You always have to go back to school a little bit.
Another Christmas song that I really enjoy, and a lot of people don't cover it, is Sweet Little Jesus Boy. That's a good one too.
That's a good idea. Maybe I need to look into that. That's a really good.
It is a good one. Now, are you an early Christmas decorator, or are you strictly right after Thanksgiving?
I think we go for it right after Thanksgiving. We're kind of day after we go for it. Yeah. My wife's always just like, let's have Thanksgiving. Let's have Thanksgiving. Let's not go too fast here. And so, yeah. The tree goes up right after Thanksgiving for sure.
One of my favorite albums of yours is when you did your Chris Tomlin and Friends album. Have you ever thought about doing another one?
Man, that was such a crazy happenstance. The way it happened, was not looking for it, wasn't trying. It was so organic. It was the most organic thing I've ever done, because I literally just met all these guys and started writing songs together and making demos and just having fun smashing up our worlds, never thinking there would even be an album release. And so much so that when we released Chris Tomlin and Friends, we didn't know what to call it. Who was going to be the artist? And they were like, hey, why don't you take it, and we'll all come around you and we'll do it. And we'll put these demos that we've made out. And so I would love to do it again. Maybe there will be one down the road. I hope so. It was so fun. It was such a different moment for me musically. It was such a little scratch, a different itch there. So we'll see. Maybe it. But that one happened so crazy, and that God put it together. It would just have to be something like that again. We'll see.
Sure. Yeah. Now you performed at Charlie Kirk's memorial service, and later that day, the top songs on all of the charts were Christian songs, including your song. I believe you did, "Holy Forever," and
How great.
How great. And then, so what do you think is going on? I mean, you talked about it earlier, Chris, but Christian music is really blowing up. And there's a stat that I saw where it says that Christian gospel is one of the fastest growing genres among young people. And I really think they just really want something real and raw. What do you see happening in the industry and then, in the church?
Yeah, it feels like that. I feel it in my concerts. I feel it anytime we play, and just people connecting to the songs, more than ever, especially in the younger generation. I love it. It's what an amazing time, right? And so, like I said, to be able to go out into Winter Jam into this moment is so special. And then next year, and yeah, I mean, I was floored by the Charlie Kirk thing. I was honored to be asked. It was the
Yeah.
Erica Kirk, her team contacted mine and said, "How Great Is Our God" was one of Charlie's favorite songs. Would I come lead it? And I was like, "How could I not? What a special moment!" I had no idea it would be the moment that it became. And but then to lead "Holy Forever" and "How Great Is Our God" and just that to really the nation and around the world. And what an incredible moment where God used that I think it was this spark that ignited so much of what's going on, in our country. People are like, we're not playing games anymore. This is there's no playing church here.
Right.
This is real stuff. But I always felt my place was, to, when asked to be in moments like that, to lead people to worship God, to lead people to God. That's what, that's the only thing I knew to do, walking into that moment.
Sure.
And to see the response. And like you said, to see the response of the people. And not only that, but just even after those songs just rise to the top across the nation. Amazing. And a song like Holy Forever, what a gift. I always think what a gift that song has been to me. And it's a privilege to have a song like that and to lead it, and to think of leading those two songs, "How Great Is Our God," which was 25, almost 25 years old now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then into "Holy Forever." Just kind of, for me, it's like, wow, these bookends of life, right? And I love what's going on. I'm praying it continues. I'm praying that the flame continues to burn and grow across our country, especially in the younger generation.
Sure. Well, let's do something real quick. Our viewers and listeners love this. It's called Favorite Thing. So I'm just going to give you a word, and you tell me your favorite thing in that category. Sound good?
Okay. I think.
First one, food.
Oh gosh, favorite food is I'm gonna say I'm guess it's what I can't eat anymore, but it's pizza. If my last meal would be pizza, and I feel terrible now. Every time I eat pizza, I feel terrible. And I used to eat a whole pizza after every concert. I ate a whole thing. I ate a whole one. So give me a large Pizza Hut, thin crust, pepperoni, and
That's
I'd eat the
probably
whole
why you
thing.
can't eat it anymore.
True, good one.
Oh man. Favorite movie.
Ooh, gosh. Mine is so random. A movie called Seabiscuit. Do you remember this movie? You ever heard of it?
Yeah,
It's
Kentucky
the
Derby winner.
underdog movie of underdog movies.
Yeah,
And I've always loved that movie.
Yeah. I'm from Louisville, so yes, I know about that movie. Yeah.
Yeah. It has
Do you have a favorite?
it's not really about the horse racing as much as it is like this underdog horse, this underdog trainer, this dog jockey. Everybody was down and out and came together. It's a true story. And it's just like, I don't know, it's such an American story. Incredible.
Sure. What about favorite show?
Favorite show? Oh, you're going to absolutely laugh. I think my favorite show, this is so embarrassing, but I think my favorite show, well, besides sports, I watch any sports is what what I watch. I think the only thing I watch faithfully is 60 Minutes.
Okay.
Does that mean I'm going to the nursing home at any time? Is that what that means? I think it does. Here's why I love it. It's the last section. There's always three sections. I can tell you. There's always three sections. And the last section is always on somebody. It's always on a person, and they always interview. There's some interesting person. Sometimes you've heard about them. Most times you never heard about them. They're doing interesting things. So I'm always like, I love documentary kind of things like that. And so that's the only show that I think does that. So anyway, that's it.
Well, and then the Christian Answer, The Chosen. That's your other favorite. I mean,
Exactly.
yes, exactly. Do you have a favorite musical artist of all time?
Woo! We were talking about that last night as a band. Lot that goes in a lot of ways, right? That goes a lot of ways. So my favorite band is Coldplay of all time. The most influential artist for me, I mean, I could go a lot of different areas, but like as far as what had the biggest influence on me was Stephen Chris Chapman. That's what when I started getting into Christian music, and then it was Petra. That's what it was like my first intro, and then it was Amy and Michael, and then I heard Stephen Curtis, and I was like, "Whoa, I love this!" And so that was a big one for me as far as influence. But if I was like one band, rest of my life, I love Coldplay. I love the way they
they're good.
love their music.
Most definitely. Well, Chris, you got the Christmas tour coming up. You doing some tour? Well, you got Winter Jam. Anything else after that? Or are you just resting?
Bro, when you say all that, I'm like, what is going on in my life? Yes, I'm hoping there's nothing after that. I can tell you that right now. I'm hoping that we can have a pause for a minute because I do have a family. So yes, there's a lot coming up. The Christmas tour and the Winter Jam, and to obviously this new album, playing these new songs, so fun. So yeah, lots going on. You think, at some point you're gonna slow down, and it's just like it just keeps getting those amazing opportunities, and so grateful.
Yeah. Well, to wrap up, I'd like to see if you'd be willing to share something that God's been doing in your life recently that would help build our viewers and listeners' faith.
Man, it would just be, one of the things that set on a mission to do. One of the things that people may not know is I have this foundation my wife and I do called For Others, and it's helps foster kids across the country. And God gave me a dream in the middle of the night to use the microphone that I was been given to speak for kids that are in our nation that don't have families and are longing for moms and dads. And this dream happened before I was ever married or had kids. And since having kids, my own, it just breaks my heart of how many kids around this country are, through no fault of their own, find themselves in really tough places. And I just wanted, so for anybody listening to this who's fostering, and just you're heroes to so many kids, and just praying for continued awareness in this nation for this what's going on in our country with this. And so this is something that for me, and that has been something that I would have never seen coming, but in the last 5 years of my life has blossomed into this incredible organization that I barely have anything to do with anymore. And that was always my dream. I would always hope that I could launch this thing off the ground, and then it takes off on its own, becomes something really special and does something really special. And that's happening. And so that's been very rewarding for me. And to see that, and to be able to use a little bit of the influence God's given me to help children in our nation.
That's good. Well, Chris, The King is Still the King is out now. Vinyl, is this available on vinyl?
It is. It's a really cool. It's probably the coolest vinyl. Definitely coolest vinyl I've ever made, because the artwork continues. It's insane.
Nice. Well, tonight after your show, eat some pizza. Don't worry about the effects.
I'm not going to. I get behind me. Yes.
Get behind me.
They're the Christian music guys. Yeah, the Christian music guys.